Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft update video. This is Snapshot 22W14A, and I don't want to make this about me, but if you're wondering why I was a little late with this video, well, it's because I decided to take the time off and go on a vacation. But I am back now and ready to explore the mangrove swamp, which was added in this snapshot. Before we get into all the details of it, there was a hint in the changelogs that you should grab a boat and navigate your way through the swamp, which sounds like a lot of fun, right? But in my experience, you tend to kind of hit these dead ends where it becomes really difficult to navigate and you can't actually get the boat sort of through. Like, here's the dead end. I can't go any further in this direction. And I've got a couple of choices on where to go here. And actually, compared to earlier, I found a pretty good spot where you can kind of go all the way through. The lily pads are something that I keep bumping into and picking them up. Yeah, I've been able to traverse this little bit relatively well, but tend to hit a dead end eventually, like right here. So yeah, that aspect of the biome I think needs tweaking a little bit, but everything else is absolutely fantastic. So the biome also has its own tint color as well. You can see that it will modify the color of grass as well as leaves, which is obvious, and the other one is water. It has its own distinct water color. And so the biome generates with a lot of mud down at the bottom level, but also patches of grass here and there too. And when the roots intersect the mud, that's when you get your muddy mangrove roots. And this biome happened to generate next to a shattered savanna, which really kind of shows off how the grass that would usually be where these mud blocks are replaced by those blocks. Now, unlike a regular swamp, you're not going to find a witch hut in the mangrove swamp. However, they do generate in very similar places. If the area is close enough to a warmer, more humid environment, like the jungle that we just saw behind us, it can generate as a mangrove swamp as opposed to a regular swamp. Now, this biome is home to two different mobs, and if I press F3 and B, we'll probably highlight what one of those are. It is indeed the bees, and they seem to kind of navigate up above the trees and then get stuck up here is something that I've noticed. There's always been a lot of bees hanging on top of the canopy. And no surprise here to see a bee's nest. These generate with the trees, so if you're exploring a mangrove swamp, you'll occasionally stumble across some bees' nests. And on the note of the bees, it should be noted that the propagule is treated like a flower. You can see the bees are following me because I'm holding one. They can also use this to pollinate as well, so they'll be attracted to the naturally generating ones, and they can use them to pollinate. So I found the bees to be rather common to find inside this biome, and lesser so are the warmer type of frogs, the white ones right here. They do spawn naturally in the mangrove swamp. I've seen a few, can't seem to find any more right now. And those are the only two that spawn in this biome. No other type of passive mob is able to spawn here. And some of you will say, but X, what about the slime? The slime can spawn in the swamps, right? That is absolutely correct. If it is nighttime, a slime can also spawn here along with other hostile mobs, but that would be the point, right? The slime is a hostile mob, but maybe not the smallest ones because, you know, they can't actually hurt the player. And so for now, you kind of get the gist as to what this biome is about. I kind of wish it had one or two more features in it because it's actually really nice to explore on foot. It's like a thick and dense maze, which feels a little different from other biomes. And also the sound design is really nice when you hear some like ribbiting and croaking and the buzzing of bees as you're making your way around. It'd be cool if there was some sort of structure in here to find and seek out and maybe get some goodies. And I guess you probably spotted it, but I might as well mention the dead bushes generate in here. A notable change is that they're now able to be placeable on top of mud blocks where they can also generate. So how about those mangrove trees? Well, in order to grow them, you need to get your hands on one of these propagules that are fully grown. When you harvest them, you'll have the mangrove propagule, which you can place on grass either above or below water. And with bone meal, you can obviously grow a tree. And when you grow one of these, there is a chance of it generating with a bee's nest. I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to guess it's pretty low, probably below 5%. Now, growing one of these in the water can be a little bit trickier. I think this spot right here will be absolutely fine, though. But for example, I think a spot like this, it's going to be relatively difficult for this tree to grow, if not impossible. And that is because the roots tend to spread out in a cross shape. And if you've got a block that's blocking it, i.e. stone, which it can't grow through, then it's not going to be able to grow at all. But I found the specifics of that to be a little bit fuzzy to me. So we should move on to another mechanic of this tree, is what it can grow through. First of all, you can only place the propagule on grass, dirt and the mud block, and then its roots can grow through other mangrove roots, muddy mangrove roots and the mud block, and when this happens it actually converts it into the muddy mangrove roots. So as you can see here, look, we got one of those over here, one on this side, and so this would be a natural way to generate this block as opposed to crafting it manually. But anyways, the trees have very interesting shapes. As you can see, they can grow quite tall. The main thing that I noticed though is that the roots always spread out in that cross direction like I described, and they don't spread out in any other shape. So they might be larger and longer on some sides, but they always spread with that cross from where the sapling was planted in the middle. This snapshot has also introduced a way to convert mud into clay, and it involves the dripstone that you see behind me, essentially dripping the water out of the mud to turn into clay. So if we go ahead and fill in all the blocks above with mud, you can see some of them start to turn to clay. And this is tied to the game's random tick speed, so if we set it to 100, then all of a sudden you can see a lot of it starts to convert quickly. But the default speed for this game is 3, so this could be relatively slow if you just have a small setup. And according to Ilmango's math, it should take about 6.5 minutes for one single block on its own to convert to clay, and that's on average. So obviously when you got more of them, some of them get selected at random a little quicker. And this will just be another cool way to farm some materials in this game, but that's kind of it. That's all the details of this one. And now a quick reminder from me, as many of you watching are not subscribed. If you feel like doing that, you'll catch my snapshot videos, which I normally bring out on the day that the snapshot is released. Anyway, go ahead, subscribe, like if you want to support the video too, and let's crack on. So now we head underground, where there's been some changes to the Warden. First of all, if another mob is to bump into the Warden other than the player, it will become angry at them for doing that, so the Warden's about to attack and kill this creeper. It was also spotted that the Warden's digging sound when it digs out of the world was the same as its emerging sound. And that right there is the proper sound of it digging into the ground. We had also comically seen that the Warden's sensitivity when interacting with liquids was a little too much. As you can see, now it's far more appropriate, although it does seem to move faster in the water than it does the lava. So previously the Warden wasn't able to pathfind across lava because it would have got damaged in lava, but now it'll pathfind across the lava to get to the player. Unfortunately, the flow of it is kind of pushing it back, but yes, it'll pathfind across the lava. You can also set a mob cage to any type of mob by right-clicking on it with a spawn egg, and previously that wouldn't have actually displayed the Warden in there. And if the Warden was given a silent tag in its MBT data, it would still make the heartbeat sound, which it will no longer do. There was also a way to cheese a Warden that was angry with you, which was to simply log back out, log back in, and it would forget it was angry at the player. That is no longer possible. And you could also break one of these skulk shriekers before it actually summoned the Warden, and then it would still summon one in anyway. That's another bug with the Warden that's been fixed. So for much of this video, you've probably been wondering about this mysterious item in my hotbar, the recovery compass, which you can craft like this. You need some of these echo shards, 8 of them, and a compass to make a recovery compass. And what this will do is point to the last place that you died, but since I haven't died in this world, it's currently just spinning in random directions. Let's go ahead and change that. Luckily for me, I set my spawn in the village just here, and of course the recovery compass is now actually pretty close to where I died, but as you can see here, it's pointing to the exact spot. So if you die a long way out from your base and you got one of these next to your bed, then it's going to help you get back and find your items. And so here in the end dimension, you can see that this thing is just pointing in all sorts of different directions. So if I go ahead and kill myself here again, then we'll see that now in the overworld, it's pointing in a random direction. And when we return to the end, it points to the location where we last died. And I've noticed when in an item frame, sometimes the animation mirrors what you see on your hotbar, and in some directions it doesn't. And they all do something slightly different, which I don't know what that means. But anyway, the takeaway here is that this is pretty simple. It just points to the last place that you died, and I thought it might be a little trickier than that because the item itself might store some MBT data about that, but it doesn't, so this means you can probably just pass it to another player and then it points at where they last died. And when it comes to the Echo Shards, you need 8 of to craft one of these. They come from the ancient city. Just wanted to point out that there are 2 of these very close to one another in this world, which I'm sure is a rarity. And they explored both of these and opened all of the chests to find out how much you would get. In one of these I got 6 after 20 chests and another 7 from 13. And according to the loot table, you can find up to 1 to 3 of them inside of a chest. And at the same time, there was a modification made where there would be an extra roll, meaning that on average you're going to get more items out of the chests as well. And so I may have gotten unlucky, but this could mean you would need to visit 2 of these ancient cities just to get your hands on one of these compasses. And I don't know if Mojang have more plans for the Echo Shards, but they've added in another item that just has a single use, which is to create the recovery compass. Maybe it would just be a better idea for the ancient city to have a couple of those in there on average. Or maybe better yet, it could drop from the Warden, or maybe Echo Shards should also drop from the Warden. That way then, they would technically be farmable too, but in a very challenging way. Although knowing the Minecraft community would then probably find some sort of contraption that automatically farms the Warden, and then you got infinite Echo Shards. But it stands to be a rare and powerful and occasionally very useful item that I think a lot of more casual players might be interested in acquiring, so it is a good reason to come down here to the ancient city and explore it and take on the Warden. There are also a couple of new advancements in this snapshot too. One of them is to get an LA to deliver an item to you. Okay, here it comes, it's picked it up, and there you go, you got a friend in me. What a great name. The other advancement is to deliver a cake to a note block. And so the LA has heard this note block here, and there you go, birthday song. Very cool. This of course meant with some other technical changes that there were new advancement triggers added. And all of the information about these triggers is on the article for the snapshot. You can find a link to it in the description box below. And 2 other changes you should know about. The Shrieker and the Catalyst were only obtainable with the Silk Touch enchantment. That is no longer so. You can obtain them without Silk Touch. There was also quite a few bug fixes related to the sculk sensor and how it interacts with the occlusion that's caused by the wall, which stops vibrations reaching the sculk sensor. This is mostly due to directional issues in the world, so some inconsistencies have basically been ironed out. And on that note, we come to the end of the snapshot video. Please do leave a comment and let me know what you think about this coming out a few days later. Was it good for you? Would you rather me be prompt? Any feedback is welcome with a comment down below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week with another one. Bye bye.